Chad, question.
Yeah.
Because I heard you talking about, I mean, I wrote down a couple of questions as you were talking to Jonathan. You were talking about owner financing.
Mhm.
So pardon the ignorant question. Okay, how does that even work? Okay, actually, I'll just ask it that way and I'll see where you kind of take it.
In
Uh,
in probate in California that's the question, right?
yeah,
So,
or just in general. I mean,
and we'll take it specifically in probate because it's more complicated. Like
yeah.
if you want to owner finance a house that's currently in probate,
Mhm.
my first suggestion would be petition the court for full authority in California.
Okay.
So you're not dealing with the bullshit of overbids and all the complications of limited authority. So let's assume you can get full authority, then then they can actually quit claim, the estate can quit claim the house to the heirs. Then you do your deal with the heirs. So you're going to sign a purchase agreement with X amount down, X% interest over X number of years and amortized over X years.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, like, they get a step up basis. So there's not a lot of tax savings in a probate deal, because like in a non-probate deal, you can oftentimes say, well, listen, you've got $120,000 in capital gains in your equity. If we keep that under $40,000 a year, do you know what the tax percentage is on 40,000 or $39,999 in capital gains? Zero. So if I can spread your $120,000 out and keep your total capital gains under 40,000 a year, you can enjoy this equity and not pay taxes on it. So would you rather make more money over time, or do you want less money right now?
I like that.
And you can show them, like in a non-probate deal. In a probate deal, they're going to get step up. Well, actually, California took step up basis away, didn't they? So you can, like, let's say they have, $400,000 in equity in a probate property. You can give them a down payment that makes them feel comfortable. Sometimes you don't even have to. And then you can amortize it to where your debt service payments stay under $39,999 and flatten out their taxes. So would you, if you guys could over 10 years get to keep all of the money, all the equity that your mom and dad worked so hard for, would you rather do that, or would you rather go ahead and carve off 20% and hand to the US government and the rest to LA County? So you can take the tax route. Now, as far as how to structure it, it's just simply like in the states I've done business in, you have a note and a deed of trust, but you'll record, you'll record an instrument, whatever that's called in your county, you'll record that instrument against the title. And one of the things I always say to people, I'm like, well, you own this house now. You're pretty comfortable with that, right? Like, not that, like, okay. So worst case scenario, you get a bunch of my money. I fix the house up and you still own the house. You're already comfortable owning. And that alleviates, like, it just shows, like, it kind of paints the picture for them. Oh yeah. Okay. I never thought of it that way. Like, what we're perceiving as risk, we already have. It's kind of like, fear is usually irrational because you're afraid of what you already don't have.
Mhm.
And that's, so they're the people's biggest concern is, well, what if you stop paying? And it's like, well, if I stop paying, you're right back where you are now, but with more of my money. So, um, so it's pretty simple. I mean, I do them on standard contracts. I just use like an MLS contract,
Okay.
and on financing, I just select other. Actually, there's in Virginia. I don't like our Roanoke contract. The state of Virginia contract has a special a whole block for owner financing terms, but I usually end up putting it in additional terms just so the attorney can write the note. But I'll just, in additional terms, I'll say, purchaser and seller agree to X dollars or X%, or whatever you negotiate owner financing. Seller will buyer, depends. Sometimes it's usually buyer will pay for the legal work, and here below are the basic terms. And you say X amount, X sell price is already in the contract, but X amount down, X% interest over X number of years, and the amortization. And sometimes like I've done them, where it's like it's amortized over 30 years, but it balloons at 5 years. So we can flatten out their capital gains in those first few years. They can take that tax free. And then when I refinance, they get their bump and get their basis.
Okay.
And we're coming into a damn good environment for this right now. Now you can wholesale those too. Like you can go negotiate the terms and get it under contract and then go sell your position in it. I don't like that. A lot of coaches will teach that, but to me, that's putting someone else in control of my reputation and someone else in control of possible legal liability. I'm not going to do that. Because if I, it's like a wedge or a sandwich deal. But if I do that and the buyer defaults, then I've got to step back in and deal with the mess, and it's my ass on the line for making the payments, right? So if they destroy the property or, so I don't like the sandwich deals. You can make a ton of money doing it, but you can also leave a hell of a trail of liability behind you that lasts years. I mean, even with something as simple as lease option, you got usually 2 to 3 year option. Well, you got 2 to 3 years to think about, are they doing what they promised? Are they doing what I promised? Really is what you're asking yourself. So, but in this environment, like it hasn't happened yet like this, from a macro standpoint, I'm extremely bearish on the overall global economy, but there's $6 trillion was a ton of money that got injected, and a lot of people invested it and did pretty well on the upper end. But we're seeing it in some markets. Florida's starting to show. Austin for sure is already showing this. You've got, I if you remember way back when COVID first started, I said what we can expect is there will be a period that we'll call winter, where sellers are clinging to theoretical equity and buyers are on the sidelines. And we see that happening now. Buyers have been priced out and they're just like, they're exhausted. So we've got, I mean, I know friends who $200,000 underwater, told them not to buy a house, but they did. And now they're landlords. But there's going to be like in the millions of people who are faced with, do I just let this thing go? Do I pay the bank to take it? Like, do I sell it and then pay the difference? Do I become a landlord, or do I stay here and not take that job opportunity, or lose my job and have to find another one here? That's going to be happening everywhere. And this is where owner financing can really kind of save the market, because instead of recording all these low foreclosure prices, you can step in and pay market price. That's the thing. With it's price or terms, pick one. You can make a hell of a deal out of an overpriced home. Like if you let's say the house retail cash offer might be $500,000. I'll pay $1 million for the same damn house. You're just going to amortize it over 40 years at 0% interest with no money down. I'll give you $1 million.
Yeah, just okay in payments.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
I
you
just
can
wanted to-
you
go
can
ahead.
make the market move, like when it does freeze, like when you're at a stalemate,
Uh-huh.
you can make the market move with these types of deals.
Mhm.
And I've even done these where I didn't even own the house. I didn't buy it. I would sign an option to lease option, and then I would go sign a lease option with a tenant buyer, bring it back to the seller and assign the whole damn package back to him, and take the option fee as a consulting fee through my investment company. And I did 4%, because most of those people are going to end up with FHA loans, which at the time was 3.5%. So I said, that was how I qualified my buyers. I said, you want to be a homeowner, right? Yeah. Well, tell me why. Reason ABCD. Like, okay, well, the first thing we have to talk about is you need 4% down. No, and they would always be like, what? I'm like, well, if you can't save 4%, then I'm going to tell you shouldn't be buying a house. Like, you're responsible enough to own a damn house.
Sure.
And so then they would be like, well, I can. And it would empower them to go start saving and stop spending all. And people would come back so proud. They're like, I got it. And sometimes they would print a damn cashier's check and literally bring it to me before we even had a house. I'm like, well, calm down, put that back in the bank. But that's what I would do. The 4% would actually come to me as a consulting fee. I made, even in Roanoke, we had a median price of, $140,000 across the market at that time. But it was a hell of a lot easier than a real estate, like a brokerage commission. That could close them. Like it was a faster way to generate cash than wholesaling. So I would go find a for rent by owner that was nice in a nice neighborhood and it was rented, but no furniture in it. And the yard looked kind of crappy. And I'm like, somebody had a job transfer, or somebody had another kid and they didn't fit in the house anymore. Or a kid got old enough that needed to be in a different school system. But there's a house sitting there, and now we have tools. Like back then, I didn't have prop stream, but now you can just jump on prop stream, look up the note, see what they owe. Like almost how to put the deal together before you call, and then reach out and offer. Say, listen, I would think I want this house right now. My wife and I, we've been renting. And you can do it under a lease option for yourself, or you can say, looks like do you guys really want to be landlords, or do you feel like you have to be? And then you'll hear the stories.